It's very similar to Gubbins, very busy cricketer already. Doing a bit of gardening, prodding around the crease, as you said, taking a few steps forward just to try and unsettle Barker's lines, but he's been very much on the money so far in this spell. The lines, the length.
We're just seeing a change to the field here, which I'm not surprised to see, given the way that Eskenazi is getting busy in the crease and advancing before the ball's bowled. We're seeing a helmet brought out, which would suggest we're going to have a short leg in play for the back end of this Barker over, and indeed quite possibly the end of his spell. He's been going now for, well, this is his 6th over. Having got a thermometer in front of me, which is unusual in COVID times. Normally there's thermometers everywhere. We've been temperature checked a number of times this morning, but it must be in excess of 27, 28 degrees already.
I thought you said you had a thermometer in front of you, and I thought, my goodness me.
No, I'm sure it won't be long before we have our temperature checked again, though, as is the custom these days. So there is a short leg as Barker charges into Eskenazi around the wicket and beats him outside the off stump again. Well, that's classy bowling. Zipping in, angling away. That's experience as well. The score remains 30 for 2. An outstanding over for veteran Barker.
And better as well. It's really good. The Middlesex batters made them look uncomfortable early on. Robson especially. But I reckon that's him done for the time being.
I think we're going to see a change here from our end. We're just going to claim it as ours. The Salters Field, I had to consult my notes on. I haven't quite committed that yet. The Salters Field there, by the way, at Salters Field. So a change. Ryan Stevenson, the 28-year-old. Big shock of red hair into the attack. Didn't play last week. He's played 5 games of first-class cricket so far, at the age of 28, so getting this chance after a lot of experience in clubland. Stevenson on the way here to Holden. First ball deflected neatly behind point, in control of the stroke. He'll get 2 for it. 32 for 2. Holden moves to 13.
We've seen that a little bit more around the counties. A few teamers coming into the game, a little bit more experienced, a little older. Like Richard Gleeson coming into Northants.
Yes, Gleeson's a great example. He was also in the bubble this week at the Rose Bowl. Stevenson delivers here. Holden in the block hole digs it out. The bowler doing the work in his follow through. Gleeson's a great story. He had no expectation of playing first class cricket. Ended up in the Northants system. His first game was against the touring Australians in 2015, a game that I was calling, and he was so far off the map, if you like, or off the radar.
Yeah.
There was no number on his shirt. He was wearing black shoes, not white shoes, when he went out to bat on that first day. He came straight out of minor league, or the minor county, sorry. Cumbria, if I recall correctly. Stevenson here on the march before he delivers the ball is Holden, but he lets it sail through to the gloves of McManus. No run.
Yeah, I think Stevenson's at a similar mould, not quite perhaps as a meteoric rise as Gleeson, but somebody who I think he was only about 23 when he got sort of spotted playing club minor counties cricket, taken onto the books at Hampshire. And okay, he hasn't played a huge number of first-class matches, but he is a bona fide professional first-class cricketer.
Stevenson has 3 slips in place as he bowls here to Holden, who leaves again outside the off stump, and partially getting a chance because we don't have Kyle Abbott here.
Yeah, and the rotation, of course, as well.
The rotation helps the situation. He gets his chance today. But, of course, Ajit Dale was in this position last week. Only bowled 4 overs in the second dig, so they made the change, and Stevenson, here he is. But, yes, Kyle Abbott, of course, who was outstanding last year, isn't available at the moment. Stevenson over the wicket. Holden leaves a bit closer to the off stump. Good cricket. But yes, Kyle Abbott not in the country. Very difficult, of course, to get out of the UK for obvious reasons, which has been complicated for a number of counties. We mentioned already today that Hampshire would have been here, but that wasn't to be. He'll be here next year for Middlesex as the skipper. Talking to Pete about that a couple of weeks ago, he's very enthusiastic about captaining the club next year at Lord's. He's looking forward to that opportunity. Stevenson. Holden pushes into the onside again. Nothing there. A good first over from the red-headed seamer. 32-2 remains score. We are 12 overs in to Middlesex. To the first hour, should I say. Hang on, is that going to be a drink? Is that the sanitisation break? It is the sanitisation. This is quite exciting. We're 12 overs in, which means that we're having a sanitisation break, which isn't a drinks break, although I'm sure they will take this opportunity to have a glass of water or maybe a drop of cordial. But outrun the subs in the green vests and the face masks on and the gloves on and all the rest. But the purpose of the break is to pop on a drop of sanitizer, and I think the ball gets similar treatment, Isabel. And then we're back at it. So in terms of getting 90 overs in, this might be a bit of a challenge or a bit of a handbrake on a hot day, but it's very important.
It's our sort of first designated sanitisation break, because the first one, which normally comes 6 overs there or thereabout, came at the fall of that second wicket.
Ah, that's right. And
that's in
the playing conditions, isn't it? If there's a fall of wicket in that over, they take the break early, like a drinks break. But I suppose they're the small concessions that we have to make in this truncated season, the Bob Willis Trophy.
I was at that first weekend where they allowed the club matches, club cricketers back on to play. I went over to Essex to watch my cousin play in the Premier League there, and it took a while, I think, for both spectators and players and actually umpires to remember that they had to do it every 6 overs and actually to get through. 'Cause I think it's 6 overs every 20 minutes. And quite often, the 20 minutes came beforehand and everyone was sort of caught unawares, but good to take these precautions, and especially if it means having club, county and international cricket back on across the country. I mean, that's one thing. Hanscom sitting over in Australia must be thinking, they haven't had cricket for a fair while. The T20 World Cup cancelled, dark, deep midwinter as well.
Yeah, he said to me that he's enjoyed the chance to just be away from cricket for a little while.
Yeah, I think a lot of players have.
A player like Hanscom, a 3-format cricketer, plays for Australia across the formats as well. Just being able just to take a breather hasn't been the worst thing for him. Eskenazi on strike to Barker, starting his 7th over. Edge and 4. Over the top of Gully, maybe even third slip. The result's the same. A boundary for Eskenazi. He moves into double figures, but wasn't in control of the stroke, and Barker continues to penetrate from the pavilion end.
It's finished that Barker's continuing, but I can see that he wants to. I can see why he wants to, because he's continuing to really trouble the Middlesex batters. Find that outside edge, and again, that one wasn't that far away. And that man at Gully.
Yeah, third slip. Hard to kind of judge where third slip and Gully is from our position, but it was over third slip. Barker goes again. Eskenazi using his feet. Ends up with the wicketkeeper. Beating him once more. So Barker, long spell, the successful one, picking up Robson in his second over. Angling in to Eskenazi, that previous delivery, just leaving him on the line of about 5th stump, but encouraged to play due to the angle that he's creating around the wicket. A short leg, the other catcher. Barker to Eskenazi, again beating him outside the off stump. I tell you what, this has been an outstanding spell. Middlesex have done well to only lose 1 wicket to the veteran Barker. You've got to hang in there here. Got to get to the other side of it. Almost a carbon copy of the delivery that came before it. Just on that 4th, 5th stump line. So an outside edge and 2 balls going past the blade to start this set. Barker to Eskenazi. This time bat on ball, pushing to mid-off and taking a single. He'll be relieved to get up the other end, I fancy, the captain. He's 14. Middlesex 37 for 2. A couple of balls now for Holden to negotiate.
Yeah, certainly the end, which I think they've received the most probing from, most being after the batters at the crease. Very canny journeyman bowler. Barker knows what he's doing, hand sanitizer or otherwise.
So 3 slips of Gully, as Barker charges in to Holden. He defends. It's a mid-off. There's no run. Indeed, that's 4 conventional slips rather than 3 slips in a gully. Having a look now. That depth perception is quite difficult for square the wicket to see where they all fit in from where we are here, but as we can see on our stream screen, a couple of seconds behind, but we can make sure we correct the record when we do misidentify where someone is, as Barker turns and runs in again. Last ball of what's been a very interesting set, left outside the off stump by Holden. So 13 overs gone. Middlesex, after being sent in, a 37 for 2. Eskenazi the skips 14, looking good so far. Holden is 13. Barker picked up Robson for a duck, bending his off stump back in the 3rd over of the morning. And Nick Gubbins was the second man to fall, out hooking to deep backward square leg from the bowling of Fuller. He was out for 8. But Holden and Eskenazi have moved Middlesex nearly to the 2nd hour. A couple of minutes short of 60 minutes played here at Radlett. Adam Collins and Isabel Westbury with you on the call. Stevenson starting his 2nd over. Full. Pushed out towards backward point, no run.
It's funny how you can just sort of get a feel of the batters at the crease. They just look a lot more happy facing the bowlers coming in from the Salters field end.
Yeah.
Anything that's coming from Barker.
Gee, you can really see those big footmarks from Barker that he's leaving on the track.
Both hands his hips now at mid-on. I think he's just been moved here, in fact.
Yeah, you look at the contrast in the footmarks on the screen from this end. There's barely a divot. The Stevenson bowls again and Eskenazi defends. But Barker hitting the track so hard from both over the wicket and around the wicket to the right-handers, he's been able to generate a bit of scuff. Dawson will enjoy that later with his left arm orthodox, I'm sure. England in their pursuit of 277 in the Test match, 14 without loss, with Burns 10 and Sibley 3. It'll be a nail biter later today, I'm sure. Stevenson bowls here to Eskenazi, who pushes to cover point. No run available.
England do have a habit of... They're just the bounce back kids, aren't they? Never easy.
Yes, they've lost their last 5 first Test matches, haven't they?
I just feel it'd be so much easier if you started strongly. I mean, it's all very well sitting here saying that, waxing lyrical. Much harder to do it in practice, but how do you conjure up that bounce back ability from the start? That's the eternal Indian question.
As the train passes behind you, Stevenson bowls and beats the outside edge of Eskenazi. Another good delivery. They've had a good morning, the Hampshire seamers. This is the final over of the first hour. What they would give for a number 3. What they would give to have 3 back in the hutch. To validate the decision of Sam Northeast this morning. Or indeed, it's already been validated, I suppose, in taking 2 in the first hour, but a 3rd would be lovely. Middlesex need to hang in there here. Stevenson to Eskenazi, pushing out towards extra cover, no run.
Watching Stevenson walk back to his mark, his shock of red hair is contrasted rather starkly against the dark green backdrop. Rather does stand out.
He's operating over the wicket. Leaving here outside the off stump is the skipper Eskenazi, the end of a maiden. So after 14 overs it remains 37 for 2. Eskenazi 14, Holden 13. Adam Collins and Isabel Westbury with you here at Radlett Cricket Club, Cobden Hill. A lovely thing for Middlesex' first home game of this Bob Willis Trophy campaign. The second of 5 regular season rounds. Of course, Middlesex was successful last week against Cross River rivals Surrey, which put them in a really good position.
Such a funny turnaround of events and how things have sort of unfolded over the last year. To think that Middlesex were facing another season in Div 2.
Barker starts another over. The first ball of which bounces up. Bit of bite there at Holden. Spits out Off the thigh pad, no run. Barker into his 8th over to start this day.
A lot of expectation, a lot of hope that Middlesex bounce back into Division 1 after that relegation in 2017. It still hasn't happened yet, but this is a sort of a surprise opportunity to really grab the bull by its horns and, a shot at the top prize as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of interest, isn't there, as Barker makes his way towards Holden, who this time leaves a ball that's on about that 4th stump line, I fancy. So he's getting some to really carry through the McManus, taking them with the fingers up, and some are just skipping through at a more gentler height.
Absolute trooper here, Barker. Honestly, I think it was about 3 overs ago in his spell, and I just thought, poor bloke.
Have a blow, yeah, that's right. But here he is, leading this attack manfully from the pavilion end. 1 for 14, his figures so far. Bowls here. Holden again gets the bat out of the way. There's that extra carrier we're talking about, Isabel. Good zip from the veteran. Excellent.
I almost want to say there's a nice lull around the ground now. As the spectators, or lack of.
The lull without the soundtrack from the spectators, isn't it? It feels right. As far as
there would be a lull. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Barker. A cordon full of catches. That's on the stumps. Defended by Holden. Back down the strip. No run. So dotting them up nicely. But for Middlesex's part, they are hanging in there. The second wicket fell at 15. They're now 37 for 2. It works both ways, doesn't it? Yes, Hampshire have been on top, but if Middlesex get to the end of this hour and the next hour and don't lose any more wickets, then it'll be seen as a missed opportunity for the visitors. So, and that'll be energy sapping as we get into the hottest part of the afternoon. Yes, the end of the 6th over was when that second wicket fell. You think, if they can get 10 overs in, sort of rebalance things. They're going in a very similar rate, these two batters in at the moment, complementing each other nicely. Now, we said before the outfield is rapid, so once you get in, you expect it could be a most profitable day. Holden's trying to do so. Barker over the wicket to him. He leaves it well.
I like this move from Hampshire. Getting the man on the lid. An extra cover.
Yeah, it's a silly point.
Yeah, don't gauge the exact distances, but he's pretty close there.
Yeah, watching back on our screen, which is a few seconds behind, he's probably 6 metres from the bat, which is not the most orthodox place for a silly point, certainly when you're thinking about spinners when they're in operation, but they must have seen enough with the bounce he's generating, maybe one off the shoulder of the blade, bringing that man into play. Barker, 1 ball to come in the over. Over the wicket to Holden. He defends to that man in close.
Yeah.
Back-to-back maidens, 37 for 2, the end of 15 overs. As we mentioned earlier, Isabel, Perfect Smile are bringing to us this week Middlesex at home. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
You send a photo of yourself watching the live stream today. Pop in the hashtag Middlesex at home, thanks to Perfect Smile, but the hashtag is Middlesex at home. Send it to the Middlesex_CCC Twitter account, and it'll magically pop up on our screen for everyone to see, you watching them go through their paces in this Bob Willis trophy. So thanks to Perfect Smile for supporting the stream this week, and the Middlesex at home, hashtag Middlesex at home segment that we'll talk about throughout the day. So get those photos in to the Middlesex Twitter account, Middlesex_CCC. I've got Lucy next door on the tools managing that. She'll have your tweet up on the screen with your photo as well as Stevenson starts a new over. Over the wicket here, Eskenazi strikes it nicely on the drive to mid-off, but can't beat Northeast, no run.
Slightly pitched there. Just lent into it nicely there by Eskenazi, but nothing for it. I reckon a few people watching today maybe good with the gadgets, got a nice setup outside, I don't know. If you've got an ice cream in hand, that kind of thing. Yeah,
it's the way to do it, isn't it? We've all become conditioned to watching things in different ways through lockdown, haven't we? Different sorts of streaming and recording and so on. Stevenson, Eskenazi defends to extra cover, no run.
We want to see you with your setup. How are you watching the live stream?
Yeah, are you in the garden? Are you watching on your phone? Are you on the golf course? Are you watching a club game somewhere but keeping an eye on Middlesex at the same time? Are you double screening, watching one from Old Trafford and one from here at Radlett? I know a lot of people would be keeping an eye on both games. England at 17 without loss in their pursuit of 277. We've got a second screen here indeed as Stevenson bowls to Eskenazi, who leaves close to the off stump. But get those photos in. Middlesex at home, thanks to Perfect Smile.
No wickets to fall yet for England in their test match, but a few others around the ground. We talked of Somerset losing 3 early wickets. Yorkshire find themselves 33 for 2 against Notts as well. Worcestershire 45 for 2.
Stevenson bowls again. Eskenazi deflecting really well. Behind point, that'll run away for 4. Indeed, even finer than that. It beat Gully.
You just slammed that. Really let it run along the ground. Almost as though he was going to withdraw the bat at the last moment, but used the speed of the ball to guide it down. Lovely looking shot.
Yeah, watching it back, he may have tried to withdraw the bat, but I think he realised at the last possible moment, I'm in too deep here.
Yeah.
Best play it with soft hands. Just off the splice of the bat. There was an attempted diving stop from Gully, but to no avail. So Eskenazi collects his 3rd boundary of the morning. He's 18. Middlesex into the 40s. 41 for 2. Stevenson over the wicket. 2 slips to Gully. Big shout for leg before wicket given. That was straight on. It was full. Eskenazi playing across his front pad. Stevenson is into the book. Middlesex lose their 3rd wicket, the score on 41. The captain on for 18.
One apiece for the Hampshire bowlers. Fuller, Barker, and now Stevenson on the money as well. And I've got a lovely shot, and that's good judgment really from Eskenazi, the previous delivery. He was trapped in front. And we talked about that 2nd wicket falling late into the 6th over. Well, now into 16th, it can even snap back 10 over punch. It means that Max Holden, who was there at the beginning, he's the man that remains. And the captain, Stevie Eskenazi, only made 18 in both innings.
Well, that's the same again, isn't it? He's out for 18.
Is it 18 again? Yes, it is.
Out for 18 in all 3 innings he's played this year in the Bob Willis Trophy. So points for consistency, but not for getting out after working his way into a start. 3 lovely boundaries, 2 through extra cover, and then the deflection behind point. The ball before he fell. Stevenson, the first change bowler, into the book. So all 3 Hampshire seamers had a wicket this morning. 1 ball to come in this 16th over, but the visitors have been certainly justified for their decision to bowl first on what has been a fairly sporting strip so far, Isabel Westbury.
Absolutely, and it reflects that we're going through those scores around the ground. Somerset are 3 down, Yorkshire are 3 down, Middlesex here 3 down against Hampshire, Leicestershire 3 down against Derbyshire as well.
So a warm day, but one for the bowlers around the country.
I don't think there's a single game where we haven't seen at least 1 wicket. Most of them 2 or 3 down. Worcestershire 45 for 2 against Glamorgan in that central group. Yorkshire 33 for 3 against Notts, and Somerset 32 for 3 against Northants to round off the central group.
Last ball of the Stevenson over, beating Anderson outside the off stump. Well, that's a nice welcome to the crease from the Hampshire seamer. A successful over. Middlesex a 41 for 3. So Holden not out 13. Martin Anderson's 1 ball and played and missed at it.
So Anderson made 18 in that first innings. And then a half century afterwards. So he's got into his stride in that last match. Wants to continue that vein of form from the final innings, important innings as well, of course. Give something, a big total for Surrey to have tried to chase.
Yeah, batted at a decent clip in that second innings as well when they were trying to pile on the runs and
yeah,
put themselves into a position to bowl out Surrey for a second time, which they duly did late on the fourth day. But a different kind of role required of him here. We'll need to bat for a number of hours to put them into a good position. Someone's going to have to take responsibility for the situation here. Of course, Holden so far has done his bit, but he needs someone to ride with him. Change of bowler.
Holden on strike, and he waits, and the ball flies through to the keeper, and there's no run. It's Ian Holland, the Australian, in the attack. He's a consistent performer in that last match.
A fantastic story, Ian Holland, for a number of reasons, which I'll tell you about through
you're quite familiar.
A little while.
Yeah. Here he comes again, right arm over into Holden, and this is a big fling uppercut over the slip cordon, far and wide above them. It's quite a wide delivery. It's back of the length, and you get a good thrash at it, Max Holden. Big top edge flying down to the boundary. Brings him a few more runs. 4, in fact, so 1 bounce 4, I think, to the total. Score moves to 45. He's on 17, Holden.
So Ian Holland, he was effective last week with the ball.
Yeah.
And he was effective in piquing my interest as far as his statistical analysis across the 4 days.
2 wickets across both innings. Here comes Holland again, and Holden at the last moment just withdraws his bat. It looks like it's straightened up a little bit there, the ball from Holland. A bit of pace on that one as well, noticeably quicker than it preceded it.
That habit, that's come through at a very decent clip from the all-rounder. So Holland 2 for 27 in both innings.
We'll see lots of pairs of scores here.
We are, and he made the same score with the bat in both innings. He made 17 in both innings, I think it was.
Here he comes again, Holden crouching low, lets the ball fly through. Past the off stump, no run. 45 for 3 here, Middlesex.
Yeah, 2 for 27 with the ball. And, he made both innings. And I was flummoxed by this. The same bowling figures in both innings and the same score with the bat in both innings. It set me down a rabbit hole, as is my want.
Each to their own.
Yes, that's why I was so popular in school.
Holden leans slightly forward, he waits, and he's pushed backwards onto his heels and defends the ball back to the bowler. Red soles there of Holland. Oh, that's 4 off him. To edge, but not letting the batter settle. Alright, so what did you find?
Well, I checked in with master statistician Andrew Sampson, who of course a friend of both of ours, and I wondered how many times in first class cricket a bowler had the same bowling figures in both innings and the same score with the bat.
Here he comes again, big stride forward, Holden leaving the ball. I had to think about it, but no run, and a good first over there from Holland. Holden 17, Middlesex 45, 3, 17 overs gone.
And he wasn't the first to do it. Indeed, four people have done it across the entirety of first-class cricket. Of course, how that's defined is different depending on which statistician you speak to, but Sampson was comfortable to say that it was 4. The best one, though, was one in 1960, where a chap by the name of Peter Sainsbury, playing in the Gentlemen versus Players game, towards, I guess, the tail end of that fixture, made 21 in both innings with the bat.
Here comes Stevenson bowling to Anderson, pushes him forwards, and it's flung through to the keeper. And they're still sitting there a little bit there, Anderson.
Indeed. That's not too unusual, making the same score in both innings, but with the ball, he picked up 3 for 103 in both innings. I think that's the difficulty of that. Yeah, 3 wickets, sure, but 3 for 103 in both innings, and made 21 in both, in the Gentlemen versus Players game of 1960, Peter Sainsbury. And Ian Holland, Hampshire all-rounder, has joined that list of 4 last week against Sussex. Stevenson
right arm over, and this is pushing Anderson onto his back foot. Just guides it along the ground to the men at gully. There's man at gully even. There's 4 in the slip cordon, plus the keeper. Not many in front of square. Just backward points. Extra cover. And you've got wide mid-on, mid-wicket there as well. A fine leg down on that sloping boundary. Stevenson into Anderson again, pushing on his back foot again, no run.
And Holland's one of these characters that has a strange entry in his Crick Info page as well. Not too dissimilar to yourself, Isabel, given that your Crick Info page includes an entry having played for the Holland national team. But still, you see these odd, they don't, not odd, it's not unusual.
It's quite odd.
But it does stand out. And in the case of Holland, who's very much an Australian, I should add, when you hear him talk.
Stevenson into Anderson. Oh, and then the stick outside edge, and there's a really good stop there by the man at Gully flying to his right. It was always along the ground. But definitely stopped at Van Der 45-3.
He's currently an international cricketer, but not for Australia, for the USA. He's got access to a US passport, and as a consequence, Ian Holland is currently an international cricketer. So he started off getting an opportunity with Victoria through a reality TV show. In 2012,
he made his first-class debut as a result of a
reality TV show. Yeah.
Stevenson in. Anderson, big stride forward, leaving it, no run.
Yeah, in 2012, in Australia, there was a show called Australian Star, when, as you'd expect, a number of cricketers around the country all entered a pool, and I guess it's a bit like what's the show when you get given a rose at the end? You're about as good on this as I am. Bachelor, much like that.
Yeah, there you go.
One player was eliminated each week, and Ian Holland was the last player standing, and he won a rookie contract for it.
Anderson waits, trigger movement forward, and strong onto the ball, defending forward, no run, end of the over. 18 overs gone, 45-3 the total.
So as Ian Holland, who's going to be on next over unless they make a change, he's taking his cap off at the moment. He was put on Victoria's rookie list, having won that TV show, and he made his first class debut for Victoria about 4 years later. Only played one game for the Vics, but then came out here, was eligible to play in England, so made that decision, and he's been quite an effective operator for Hampshire, and as I say, as of last year, he's now playing for the USA. So it's quite the story. At some point, I'm looking forward to sitting down with him and learning more about it. It'd be a great feature.
Is that what you call a colourful CV?
Yes. And you see them from time to time. I mean, cricket's a sort of sport which occasionally players end up back playing at the top flight, having done other things in their 20s. You see that. Look at Dirk Nannis, for example.
Holland to Holden. This is past the outside edge and rising the delivery through to the keeper. You can hear the groans there from the fielders. It was pretty close. Good leave, as they say.
Tell you what, that's the second ball bowled to Holden that's pitched and taken off.
Yeah. It's almost a little off-cutter, isn't it? Just rising off the seam. Tell you what else is difficult is saying Holland to Holden.
Yeah, I don't envy you for the next few overs.
Holland and Holden dances down the track, and they've gone up for a caught behind. So is the bowler, the fielders, the keeper. Holden didn't really know much about that.
Well, that was borderline celeb appeal. They all went up, and watching Holland's response to it, he just went straight at Holden, only really tempted reaching Holden.
I tell you what,
upon turning back, the umpire was shaking his head, saying, "Sorry, mate, you haven't hit it."
We need a rock and roll replay of that, really.
Yeah, well, I've just seen the first replay on our stream, and inconclusive from that vantage point.
Here comes Holland again, and this time Holden gets bat on it, prodding down.
Perhaps more interesting was the fact that Holden was on the march before the ball was bowled, which he accurately identified. He was at least 2 strides down.
We saw Eskenazi do that a few times.
Yeah.
Against Barker especially.
But he stopped doing it now. It's just a one ball only.
Yeah.
You don't usually see that adopted just for one ball, but it nearly got him in strife, nearly lost his wicket for it.
Holden, shoulders forward, he waits, and this one's... Oh, I think I'll give him a guide down, past backward point, down to the boundary's edge. I don't think it was quite an edge, but it was an in-control shot, slightly full over pitched by Holland. I think I believe perhaps Holden seems 21-9 for 3 Middlesex. Yeah, just looking at that replay, slightly over pitching. Effort ball there from Holland, from the Australian/US bowler.
He's not the only former Victorian player making a mark in the county championship either. We've just got a brief delay here. Trying to identify why that is.
I think they've got a lost ball, and I think because we're now in zones, nobody can go and help the fielder.
Oh, I see. We did get very specific instructions, didn't we? If the ball comes to our tent, we are not to pick it up, which might be tough if it comes through the window, but we're allowed to boot it out if it comes to that.
Stevenson was the man that had to go through the hedge to see his red hair. coming back, and he had to go and find it in the makeshift car park. I'm a little bit concerned about where our cars are parked for
we're not
later
far,
in this.
we are not far from that, are we?
Yeah.
But that was an especially jarring part of what would you call it, COVID cricket, when there was that behind closed doors international played between Australia and New Zealand before the curtain went up on the whole thing, and you're seeing these Australian players climbing over the seats trying to find balls at the SCG.
Was that a T20 or was it?
It was a one-day.
It was a one-day, but there's a few going into the stands.
A few into the stands, that's right.
Holland, right arm round the wicket to Holden. Goodness me, that's difficult.
I suppose that's all. We're used to it now. We've seen it. Well, not that there were many sixes struck in the basic test matches against West Indies, but there were a couple.
I think it'll be interesting to see how this works out, the sort of logistics work out in the T20 internationals, because you'd imagine there'll be a lot of running to and fro. They must have to have more than one ball available.
Or a net.
Yeah, or a net. I can see that happening as well.
Unintended consequences of this challenge that we're in.
Holland round the wickets, and this is reached by Holden. Trying to stroke it into the offside, but he's really having to lunge out to the pitch of the ball. Nice length there from the Australian. 49 for 3 now, Middlesex.
Yeah, we often talk about the innovation that's being invested in cricket at the moment because of COVID, and it might be that there are legacies from this crisis that end up being net positives for the game, and how they are able to get resourceful around T20s. Well, we'll see. Maybe it's nets, maybe it's something else.
Well, another innovation in cricket at the moment is the introduction of Colo's question.
Oh, yes. Colo's question. Well,
talked about it earlier in the stream. Every day we're going to have a Colo's question brought to you by Knight Frank. Ask a different question each day. You have a day to answer it. Pushes Anderson back onto his back foot. No run as he punches it into point along the ground. 49 for 3.
And in case you're new to the stream and didn't pick up the rules, if you like, it's on a system. The question I ask you can work out via Google, and that's fine. But we'd rather you didn't. We'd rather you played the game in the spirit in which it's designed.
I'm banning the use of Google or other website search apps are available.
Yeah, indeed.
Search engines. Here comes Stevenson, right arm over. Left by Anderson, yet to get off the mark. So
the question today, Colo's question, hashtag, I've already seen it on Twitter. People have been sending it to me and sending me thoughts on it. Toby Rowland-Jones, the Middlesex vice-captain this year, who isn't playing, unfortunately, today, still carrying a niggle. He was instrumental in Middlesex's victory in 2016, of course, taking out the county championship in that season. He was Middlesex's leading wicket taker in that campaign.
Anderson waits, guides that into the onside, straight to the fielder at mid-wicket, still on 0, 49 for 3. Big slip cordon for the Middlesex batter.
But for the purpose of Colo's question, thanks to Knight Frank, I'm not interested in the 54 wickets he picked up across the season. I want to know how many deliveries he bowled in county cricket. This excludes the games played against the students. This excludes whether he played in a tour game or whether anything else. Just in the county championship, how many balls did Toby Rowland-Jones send down in 2016?
Stevenson to Anderson, nice looking drive, that's going to be 4. Back up the ground, he's off the mark. Lovely off drive to the young Middlesex batter. Stayed tall, and it moves the score past 50. 53 for 3 Middlesex.
That was a lovely shot, wasn't it? Landing on the front foot. We said it a couple of times already today, but if you can time the ball through the infield, if you can find a gap, you're getting a boundary for it. We're not seeing many threes today, I suppose, unless we see the field set back later. But as far as the seamers are concerned,
I think we saw one early on between Gubbins. I think Gubbins was in.
Yeah, Gubbins defended his first ball and it went straight down the ground for 3. But that's
it ran awfully hard.
yes, it didn't. There was no real venom in the stroke, but it still nearly went for 4, which is probably the only time we'll see 3s today.
Stevenson's got his ball back in hand. Anderson, he waits. This one mistimed it into the onside, but they're going to go for a quick single on the shot at the non-striker's end. But they're through safely. Another run for him. Brings him off strike. And it means Middlesex now 54 for 3.
So, thanks to Knight Frank. Colo's question, how many balls did Rowland-Jones bowl in 2016 in the county championship? If you know it, drop us a line to Middlesex_CCC on Twitter. And if you're nearest to the pin, and no cheating, just what you think it is. Just take a guess.
Stevenson.
Take an educated guess.
Into the left-handed Holden, puts it into the offside, no run. I'll give you a clue, it's a lot of balls.
It's a lot of deliveries. So that's the end of the over. So Middlesex are 54 for 3 with Holden 21, Anderson's 5. If
He's got quite a long run-up as well, Toby Rowland.
He does.
So
yeah.
I just think, gosh, that... You know what, for added bonus points, can you work out how far he's run as well?
Yeah, that's good. Maybe that'll be our tiebreaker. If there are a few people who are quite close to the pin and we want to make our own call on this, then maybe if you can send in how many metres he ran as well, if you can work out how far his run-up is, well, have some fun with it.
I might have to invest in a sort of scientific calculator if somebody comes back with that.
Yeah, you often hear it with Jimmy Anderson, don't you? Over a 160-odd Test match career, he's ran to the moon and back 17 times or something like that.
Holland's got the ball in hand. He's going to be bowling to Anderson for the first time in this match. And he's gone back over the wickets and pushing Anderson onto his back foot, no run. 54 for 3, Middlesex against Hampshire. It's the second round of the Bob Willis Trophy. Cricket happening concurrently around the grounds as well as the England Test match. England appear to have lost their first wicket.
Yep.
Over in Manchester.
Rory Burns was the first man to go. 33 for 1 they are, needing 277 to win.
Holland to Anderson, and it's all past the outside edge, rising delivery. That's beautiful, beautifully bowled, taken above the right shoulder of the keeper, hands on hips all round. Tricky last half hour of the session here for Middlesex. They really want to lose more wickets. 3 already there in the session. So Robson, Gubbins and Eskenazi, all very experienced batters, the captain amongst them.
What do you do to that? Well, he's sent a couple of balls down at Holden from around the wicket that have almost been off-cutters. Well, I say off-cutters, off breaks. They've moved that far. That delivery from Holland, watching back on our stream, is pitched off stump and almost gone as a leg break. It's gone so far off the seam.
She found the outside edge of Anderson's on the ground, and there's a dive by the man at Gully. Got a hand to it and definitely stopped the pace of the ball. But came fielding at point, had a bit of ground to make up, and they've come back for 2. 56 for 3.
It's very skillful bowling there from Holland to get the ball going both ways prodigiously, both over the wicket and around the wicket. So giving himself every opportunity to find Hampshire's 4th. Middlesex have to dig in, have to get the lunch here.
Holland into Anderson, and a lovely stroke into the onside. Angle of the bat, whipped it through into where perhaps you'd have a mid-wicket fielder standing, and it's down to the boundary for 4 runs. 63. Middlesex, of course, top the southern group at the moment. They're first with 22 points. So the other games there, Essex 50 for 3 against Surrey, and Sussex 77 for 1 against Kent.
That was a delightful shot from Martin Anderson. Yeah. They talk about that being the most aesthetically pleasing shot in the game, the on drive, and well, that maybe was more. It was a fraction more mid-wicket than it was through mid-on, but all the same, it was timed to perfection.
Anderson, he waits, tall man, and this one's off his hips. Might get leg byes for that as keeper goes out to field, beats the fine leg. And there's a run to the total. Just see what the keeper umpire does there, and yeah, he signals leg byes. That 4 from the previous delivery, it's the kind of thing I think if you can. When you whip that sort of leg side trick, it's the kind of thing if you had sort of 2 cowboys next to each other and were told to get their guns out of their holster, if you can do that quickly enough, that's the kind of star you get whipping it through leg. That's the vision that comes into my head. Holland just moving his slip cord, and I think he wants second slip a little bit to his left. Get exactly the way he wants it, going round the wicket to Max Holden. And the shout is 2 as he plays it off his hips, and they're going to come back easily enough. Good running here from the Middlesex duo as that went towards square leg area. 2 more runs to the total. 63 for 3 now Middlesex. 1 is gone. Or 20 even. Sometimes the scoreboard just gets in there before me.
Yeah, 21 gone, I think it is. It's just it just ticked over then. It's the perennial debate, isn't it? What number do you put on the board? Do you put the over that you're in, or the over that's gone?
It's always the over that's gone.
I wonder whether this might be an Antipodean thing.
I think this is definitely an Australian
thing.
thing.
Growing up, we would have 22 on the board now rather than 21. We would reflect that we're in the 22nd over.
You do things all strangely in Australia. Don't bring that over here.
What I will say, though, is the score is 63 for 3, not 3 for 63.
Thank you.
Right, as Stevenson sets off, start of a new over, bowling to Anderson, defending correctly, to cover, no run. So 3 wickets to fall this morning. Robson for 0, Gubbins for 8, and the captain Eskenazi for 18. Barker, Fuller and Stevenson all in the book. 3 of the 4 seamers used for Hampshire, who won the toss and bowled first. Stevenson bowling here to Anderson, who again threw mid-wicket with that flick of the wrists. He'll get a couple. Barker's in pursuit. They come back for a third, right in front of us at our commentary position at deep mid-wicket.
I think Barker's had to run to the furthest point in the field and the highest point in the field.
Yes.
That. Kind of one as a fielder, you kind of think, if I could have just gone a bit over 4 then, that would have saved me a little bit.
Yeah, it's right in the corner, isn't it? You look at it's more a rectangular field than an oval in terms of the shape. It reminds me of Eden Park in New Zealand, ridiculous, and we're right in those here. So if you're watching the stream wondering where we are, just where young Martin Anderson clipped that previous delivery, adding 3 to his score. He's 14, Middlesex 66 for 3. Stevenson for Holden, playing with one hand off the bat, so a fraction quicker, maybe a bit more bounce than he anticipated.
I think you're just demonstrating how strong his top hand was there. Look what I can do, one-handed.
It's never so much a problem when the bottom hand comes off the bat. Your top hand off the bat is control of the stroke. That's when you see the ball often go straight in the air and bring the cordon into play. Stevenson bowls here to Holden, who pushes again into the onside. No run. Wonder whether we might see some spin before the long break. We've got 24 minutes until that's scheduled.
Dawson back in. He'll be wanting to have a crack at things.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing him bowl.
That's the sort of the paradox of being inside the England bubble, is that, you know, it's all very well to be in and around and they need as many players as possible and for COVID substitutes, etc., but it does mean a sort of dearth of first-class cricket.
Yeah. Stevenson, Holden, leaving outside the off stump. You often see it, don't you, when teams go on long overseas tours, although not so much case these days, but historically when they got ordered, if you're a squad player and you're deep in that squad, you may not play at all, or very rarely. In recent years, I think of someone like Sean Marsh, who often was the spare batsman in the Australian team away from home and, you know, as they say, good around the group, but wasn't required to use his bat too often. Stevenson still operating over the wicket to Holden, who pushes to cover. That's the end of the 22nd over. So 3 runs and over, Middlesex run rate so far. There's 66 for 3. The wickets column's the problem for them right now, though. Losing Thrashin after being inserted by Sam Northeast at the toss. Adam Collins and Isabel Sprigg on the call to go to our sanitization break, it must be. We're up to, are we?
I think so.
After 22 overs? I thought it was every 6 overs, but maybe...
This might actually be an actual drinks break.
This might be a formal drinks break. Okay, well, with 22 minutes to go until the interval, that would be unorthodox, but very little about cricket in 2020 is conventional, so
I'm just going to go with the flow here.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, sanitization, drinks break, whatever you need to do. We're watching cricket, it's sunny, it's hot.
No complaints.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. It was a joy to be at the Rose Bowl last week, watching those one-day internationals and covering those and being at a county game today, a Bob Willis game. It has been a reminder, hasn't it, over the last few weeks with cricket starting again, how much it hurt having it out of our lives through April, May, June, and indeed July for the most part of the July month as well. And now that we're back on track to the extent we can be, it's been joyous. I was doing the Middlesex Surrey London Cup women's game at the Oval a few weeks ago. That was my first game back. Is this your first game back? Have you been to the
my
game?
First game on site, yeah.
First game on site, yeah. It was a lovely evening there at the Oval, just getting a taste for it again.
It's been it's an understatement saying it's been a funny time, but it's been interesting looking at the way in which it's affected both the players themselves, those that cover it as well. I think for a lot of players, at the start it was quite a welcome break to what can be quite a relentless sport, both on the international stage and if you think about sort of the cross-format players now as well, across the domestic circuit. I think a lot of people, it was sort of a time to reflect, a bit of time off, but then the longer it went, I think the more and more you realised how much you did miss this silly old game. I certainly did.
Not wrong. Holland on the way, starting a fresh over after the sanitisation break. There's a shout for leg before, and it's turned down. Anderson got a stride in, but I fancy that might have beat his front pad, judging by the way they went up. We'll see when we get the replay on our screen. But all the same, no luck for Hampshire there.
I felt as though that was an appeal that the umpire wasn't even considering. Body language there, very confident. Absolutely not.
Yeah, watching it back, it did beat him on the inside edge. It came back a long way off the seam. Most generous movement here. This time beating him outside the off stump. Well, one's gone in, one's moved away. Holland is genuinely moved both ways off the seam, which is painful on a track that's giving the bowlers plenty. Has done so from the moment that Keith Barker bowled that first over. Yeah, watching that again, that's shaped away, decked away, just enough to cause Anderson some trouble. Hard to leave those. He bowls again. Anderson in the air, spitting towards point, doesn't quite make it.
Hung in the air for absolute age, didn't it?
Didn't it just? She's quite the spell for rounder. So he's had one go in, the off-cutters beat the outside edge. The next delivery's beaten the outside edge. And the third one's found the leading edge.
Holland is the kind of bowler that you ask an international cricketer, and they're the ones they have nightmares about when they go back into the county game. It's not the sort of 90 miles per hour on the rapid ones, it's those ones that just cut off the seam.
Gully comes in a couple of steps. Anderson having to face up to Holland. This is down the leg side. It spits away for a leg by. I mean, I love the fact that our game still has space as the score advances to 67-3. Bowlers like Mohammed Abbas in this match, or Brad Sayers, who's done so well in the Sheffield Shield.
You think, what on earth?
Yeah, I mean, guys who bowl, maybe in the old money, mid-70s miles per hour. I think Holland might be a fraction quicker than that, incidentally, but that there is space in a supercharged game for bowlers that are a fraction more old-fashioned but have it on a string. And
it's the skill. That's the way you really appreciate it, isn't it? It's not just that raw and raw pace.
We see plenty of those operators in the county championship. Holland here. Another shout for leg before. The umpire's unmoved. Holden was a long way forward, but coming around the wicket, Holden was on this occasion able to bring the ball back, beating him inside, outside the decision of the official.
Yeah. It's back as well, you say.
Neil Payton and Rob White, the two umpires today. I'm yet to entirely confirm who's at which end. We'll work that out at the lunch break, just on the first day of the live stream. A few teething issues on that front, but we'll know who's who and we'll be able to identify who's making the calls. But I think it was the right call. Yeah,
I think the difficulty for Holland is he's bowling quite wide of his crease around the wicket to a left-hander, so it's more often than not going to be pitching outside off.
So the short leg's back in play. No, actually, the keeper's up to the stumps. Well, that's bold. McManus has come up to the stumps with Holland.
What do you think he's bowling, 80?
Getting plenty of movement at a decent clip. He bowls here, Holden, pushing straight back to the bowler. No run. That's the end of his exceptional over. But fair play to McManus. The naked eye, he's been the fastest bowler on show today. Which would mean that he'd have to be in the 80s. And the fact that McManus has backed himself to come up to the pegs is not for nothing at all. So 67 for 3, with the opener Holden 23 and 14 for Anderson. We've had 23 overs gone so far this morning. We're seeing flashed up on the screen here Colo's question. Thanks tonight, Frank. That is, how many deliveries has Toby Roland Jones, or how many deliveries did Toby Roland Jones send down in the 2016 County Championship season. Send those in on Twitter. We'll talk more about that in a bit as Liam Dawson takes the ball.
Said there might be some spin before lunch. We've got about a quarter of an hour to go.
Yep, fresh out of the bubble. We weren't sure whether Dawson would play.
That's a wonderful phrase, by the way.
Yes.
Fresh out of the bubble.
So he's got a short leg and a slip. He's left arm orthodox. Going around the wicket to begin. Anderson on strike, the right-hander, deep in the crease, defending. That was flat to begin. As I mentioned before, bowling from this end, he's got those big old footmarks that Keith Barker left him.
Yeah.
So something to aim for on the first morning.
It's funny, funny you'd say that on the first morning, but they do seem to be there.
Defending down the track again is Anderson, the 23-year-old. It's just his 9th game. First-class cricket. Picked up his second half-century last week against Surrey in the second innings. Dawson with a slip and a short leg to 2 catches. He bowls here. Down the track comes Anderson. I don't mind that. Gets to it at the pitch and defends. I don't think Hampshire minded it either, for that matter. They want to see him using his feet this close to lunch.
He's a quicker spinner as well. So he can really draw the batter out.
He delivers Dawson flat on leg stump. Anderson tries to turn him around the corner, but doesn't get much on it. Picked up by the man on the 45. Felix Organ doing the work around there. Dawson bowling in the sunglasses, goes again. More loop this time, and Anderson gets a big stride in, smothers the spin, out to cover. Good early contest.
You've got Holland with his cutters from one end. You've got Dawson, experienced spinner from the other. It's going to be a tricky 15 minutes for this duo, this Middlesex pair.
Absorbing cricket here at Radlett Cricket Club. Dawson, flatter again. Anderson responds by knocking it on the head. Maiden to start for the spinner. It remains 67 for 3. So 24 overs gone. Middlesex sent in this morning. If you're just joining the feed, Robson fell for 8. Well, Keith Barker picked up the wicket of picked up the wicket of Nick Gubbins. Hooking to long leg, he was gone for 18. The second wicket to fall when the score was 15. And the third to go was the captain Eskenazi on 18.
For the third time in 3 innings.
Indeed, for the third time in 3 innings, and he was dismissed leg before wicket from the bowling of Ryan Stevenson, Hampshire's first change. Their second change bowler, though, Ian Holland, has provided plenty of interest in the last couple of overs, getting loads of movement, but that hasn't dissuaded the keeper, Lewis McManus, to come up to the stumps. So taking caught behind out of play here, Isabel, but Holden has been coming down the track. So Holland bowls to Holden, clipping through mid-wicket. That's struck nicely, timed well. They'll get at least a couple. They're happy with that.
Slightly over pitch there from Holland. Just let Holden lean into the shot.
Good batting stop there from Felix Orchard as well, picking up and throwing in one motion. Yes, it does change the dynamic, doesn't it, as the bowler in this situation, where the keeper's up to the stumps and perhaps less incentive to find the outside edge. Mind you, he's still got a couple of slips in place.
Yeah.
Holland around the wicket to Holden. Bit of a mouthful there. Leaving it close to the off stump.
If I think about, we've got sort of Holding as somebody we're quite familiar with. We've got Holland, Holden, not Holding.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with this game.
Yeah, Holding, who we're sometimes working with. Holden and Holland, and of course a number of Hollands that
too much
bob up around the world. John Holland, of course, another Victorian who would have played with Ian Holland in the state team.
I was definitely
way forward here, Holden, defending to mid-on, no run.
So 2015-16, where they were playing together, the two Hollands.
Yes.
And one was called Dutchy and one's not.
They're both called Dutchy. Holden gets Dutchy as well, but certainly is Dutchy for obvious reasons.
Not confusing at all.
John was last in a test squad a couple of years ago in the UAE, playing in those 2 test matches between Australia and Pakistan, and still doing his thing for Victoria. But his namesake, Ian Holland, around the wicket to Holden, Max, defending to cover, no run.
Yeah, it's interesting what they've done here with McManus at the stumps, and then you've got quite a wide field in there. Almost the feed you've got first and then Gully there as well, and the backward point very much in play, that outside edge.
Holland to Holden. Just clips him on the thigh pad and spills away around the corner.
It's another problem with these new age thigh pads. So sometimes they wrap them and they sound very similar to the sound of bat.
Yes.
Or not, and you think, no, it's not him. Not this time.
So the 25th over of the morning, we're leading up towards the lunch break, 10 minutes until that interval. Hampshire pushing towards a fourth wicket. Middlesex need to get to the break without further loss. Holden defends Holland. End of his over, as we've been saying through the morning, Isabel. Middlesex at home, thanks to Perfect Smile. How trying to get is watching the no matter where you are. Are you in the garden? Are you watching a couple of separate screens? Are you watching on your TV, on your phone? You show us where that's happening by taking a photo and plugging it via the hashtag Middlesex at home, thanks to Perfect Smile, who are supporting this segment throughout the 4 days. Send it into the Twitter account, Middlesex_CCC, and Lucy, who's sitting next door on the social media tools, she'll get all of those photos and she'll pop them up on the screen. So you'll get to see your photo on our Middlesex live stream throughout the course of the day. So Middlesex at home in conjunction with Perfect Smile. So the hashtag is simply that, Middlesex at home, one word, to Middlesex_CCC on Twitter. Get your photos in and you'll see them later in the day as Dawson starts a fresh over to Anderson, defending the first ball of it. Back to the bowler, no run.
It feels like a sort of Super Saturday kind of day. You've got 9 cricket matches across 9 domestic cricket matches across the country, and you've got
the Test match certainly finishing today as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Dawson into Anderson, no run.
Yeah, 10 games of professional cricket and hundreds of club cricket games. I'll tell you what, you want the coin to come down your way today, don't you? You want to have a bat when it's hot like this. Rack up plenty of runs. Skittle the opposition in 20 overs, get in the shower, get in the bar, although you probably can't do either of those things in the COVID-secure environment, but all the same.
You say that, but there are a lot of wickets falling around the country. I mean, Yorkshire currently 59 for 4, Somerset 70 for 4 as well. The Middlesex fans, a reassurance perhaps that it's not only wickets here that we're seeing fall in this first session on the first day of the second round of the Bob Willis Trophy.
Another brief interruption while they fetch a helmet. Seen that a few times this morning. So in this session, Hampshire have bowled 25. They're into the 26. 2 of them have been spin. They might get 2 more in, so we'll be roughly 27. Of course, there'll be an extra half an hour available to make up any overs they don't get in, as far as the requirement of 90 per day. But still, that's a good 30 seconds lost there.
Here comes Dawson round the wicket, left arm round, and pushes Anderson onto his back foot, no run. Just trying to plug it through the covers there, found the fielder.
Interesting that some fielding teams have all their helmets and protectors behind the wicketkeeper, and others have them run on and run off. It must be a sort of a team rule thing.
All past experience.
Yeah, 5-run penalties and so forth.
Dawson in, this is Fuller, and this is thrashed down the ground. Tumbling dive by the man at mid-off. 70 for 3 now, Middlesex.
I know Tim Palmer, old school. He has like 4 helmets.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it makes 3 or 4 helmets behind him when he's wicket keeping. But
do you think it must be the call of the wicketkeeper then? How comfortable they feel?
Yeah, I suppose the fact that he's captain as well.
Yeah.
In the Test team for Australia does help make that decision.
Do you also feel if a team's had a sort of particularly sort of awful run of hitting helmets, then they might be more prone to getting someone to run on? Because it was a decision to get that helmet on that was almost surprising, because you've got these 2 batters really finding it difficult against these bowlers coming up to lunch. You want to bowl as many balls as you possibly can in an uncomfortable period. But Dawson wants to get things just the way he wants them. He's bowling now over the wicket, left arm over the wicket to the left-handed Max Holden, who drives that nicely, watchfully to cover. James Fuller there, the former Middlesex man. Dawson again, top of his mark. Holden on strike, keep up the stumps, takes a few steps, and this is launched into the onside, and I think that will be 6 runs. The umpire's trying to work out whether it's 6 or 4. He's having a question. It's over mid-wicket, and he's gone for 4. And I wonder if a replay will signal that as 6. I'm not sure, but it was there or thereabouts. A good-looking shot from Max Holden, skip down the track. He's got 6 to his name. Middlesex, 6 to 3.
Yeah, that might take
4 for 3. Sorry, 4 for 3. It is a 4. We confirmation.
Yeah, that was 4. I saw the signal between balls. It might take some finding that ball though. I think it might be out towards our cars again, Isabel.
Ooh, I think it's actually further. It's a bit straighter, isn't it? It's that.
Yeah.
Into the shrubbery.
Yeah, that's definitely a feature of this week, is that balls will end up on that side of the ground. Not lost necessarily, but temporarily missed, I would say. I'm sure they'll pick up, but it is reminiscent of those club games that we were talking about before, and certainly a feature of club cricket is looking for the balls when they go pinging around the grounds and the shrubbery and so forth.
And there's lots of pointing going on.
I'm always that guy. I'm the pointer, saying, no, it's in there, mate. No, just a little bit further that way. Yeah. I reckon it went in there. If you go about 5 metres back, I reckon that's where it landed. Yep. Yeah, you go in. You get it.
I'm giving them absolutely no chance. Oh, wait, no, they've got it.
Well done.
So they've definitely got something in his hand. Search party success. Wonder if that could be a sort of string to your bow if you're vying for selection.
Yeah.
I'm really good at looking for things.
Quite possibly. Might end up being one of our arc build moments of the match as we work through. Moment of the match. Thanks to arc build. We'll catalogue them as we work our way through the 4 days. Isabel Westbury to my left and myself, Adam Collins, and on afternoon 4 we will tell you what the moment of the match is thanks to arc build.
Here comes Ian Holland up the hill. Right arm over to Anderson, who's pushing that into the offside. On the ground, backward point, no run.
There'll, of course, also be some viewer interaction on that. It'll be on our social media feed, Middlesex_CCC. So pick up the opportunity to have your say. Pick out your favourites. Making this as interactive as we can here on this new stream today.
Holland to Anderson, tall upright character. Down the leg side, tumbling stop by the keeper, no run.
And now we've got 3 helmets behind McManus.
Any more comfortable with yourself, perhaps? 3 minutes left until lunch. Possibly another over after this. We'll see how quickly Holland gets through. Open starts from Anderson. He waits. Plays it watchfully underneath his lid. 74 for 3. Holden on 29. Anderson there on 15. Watchful from the duo. Rebuilding after his 3 early wickets, 3 senior wickets. It's Holland in again, and this is full and driven nicely only so far as, oh no, there's a misfield at mid-off. Barker must have lost sight of that. Almost did it go through his legs or parried through?
I think it deflected off his leg
in
one direction. Hard to pick up from our angle here, but it was heading towards, well, I guess the long off boundary, and it, in the end, ended up just going into the side screen. Watching the replay back, that's exactly what it off his boot. So, bonus runs for Middlesex on what's been a relatively tough morning, but they've fought hard since losing that 3rd wicket.
Anderson waits, pushing it back into the offside. 76 for 3. It's that last wicket falling in the 16th over, so we have had 10 since. Nice little partnership forming here. 2 youngsters at the crease.
Yep, they've added 33 for no loss in the last 10 overs.
Anderson takes a few strides down the wicket and then plays it into the turf, no run. To end that over. 76 for 3, 27 gone. And Middlesex.
Yeah, so for Holden's part, he's 29, but perhaps the more relevant figure on that board at the moment is 74 deliveries faced. So 4 boundaries. A couple of those were struck quite early on, if memory serves me correctly. But the fact that he's been able to dig in.
And it looks as though the players...
Well, I didn't expect that, Isabel. I thought they'd get one more over him, but that's perhaps a little bit of poor game management there, because Hampshire had every opportunity to get an extra over in, given it was the spin of Dawson set to continue, but the clock has struck 1, and that will be that.
So after the first session here of this second match of the Bob Willis Trophy, Middlesex find themselves 76 for 3. Max Holden there on 29, Anderson on 17. And we're going to cut away for lunch and join you back on here in about 40 minutes time. Yeah, it's quite weird not hearing ourselves. So I just like things like where the mic is now, etc.
I was getting messages from people saying they couldn't really hear us in the first bit. Then we went off there for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was more the technical thing than...
Oh yeah. When we came back it was better.
Oh my god.